Overcoming is a show that sees us bringing women together in discussion about a challenge that they are either currently going through or have overcome. Basically sharing a pain, holding hands, crying together and healing together, hoping that this will inspire somebody currently going through tough times. Well, let's see what today's episode has in store for us.
My name is Kisumwe and I am a young mother. I'm here to share my story on how I lost the father of my child 3 years ago, and I hope that my story is an inspiration to many women out there and also men who have gone through losing their partner and having to raise a child alone. So I want you to know that whatever you go through also you can eventually overcome.
Hi, my name is Kharata Mashaha. I'm a young widow who lost her husband 2 years back in 2016, and I intended to change the story that widows go through, to tell the story that it's not about what you go through, but how you go through it. And I'm here to let widows know that there is a life after losing a life partner.
And welcome back, and thank you for joining us as we continue to discuss this very heart-wrenching topic. We're talking about overcoming the loss of a partner, and I'm still with my girls, Khorata Lekesero. I was talking about, whether that element of them saying goodbye really does exist, or is it just us trying to make sense of the fact that they're gone? Would you say, somehow you felt your husband said his goodbyes?
Well, for me, it was a very, I can say it started off the year before. He just decided, I want to take you. He called Cape Town the Las Vegas of Africa. He was like, you know what, I want to take you out. We went out. That was the time when he wasn't well. I think around December. We went. I was worried, but he wasn't. He just said, you know what, I want you to always remember this moment. And he took me to Cape Town. We had an awesome time. And the following year, 2016, the same year that he passed on, March, I was turning 33. And all of a sudden he's saying to everybody, I want to make a birthday for my wife. And he is just telling everybody, I'm paying for everything. All I need is for you to work on logistics. He was just making everybody run around. And they did a surprise party for me. It was so shocking. 33 was so big about 33. Why should you do it? And on the weekend that he passed on, and okay, before that, July, one of his friends comes and calls me and say, Khorata, you recently talked about the reason why you guys don't have kids, and you had made an article encouraging couples who are married who are not having kids and people who are not having kids. And we feel we should celebrate your husband for just being so brave and coming out. More so, he's been the person behind this. And they made a surprise party for him, just honoring him. Most of the time we honor people when they or we remember people when they're gone. Yeah. And hardly a month after he passed on. And a week before he passed on, we had performance awards at home at work. And when I got home, I had won a few awards. He went to his mother and he said, you know what, we can look left or right, forward or back. This is the exact wife that I would have chosen in years. And I want you to always remember that. And that was his last word to his mother. And we went home to my parents' home, and he insisted that my father be called at the bedroom, and something that he would never do. If my father was resting, he was just saying, no, just leave him at home. Yeah, that day he insisted, and he told my father, you know what, I really love my wife, and if I had the chance, I will marry her again.
Wow, I can imagine the validation that he left you with. But guys, let's talk about the kind of support. First of all, the kind of support you got, or the kind of support you expected and possibly never got, as well as, I think us people who come to pay our respects, what the right thing to do is. So what would you say is that thing that during that painful period you expect from people who are there to support you?
I, for one, like I said, eventually I went to his house and Nagakopantuake a tent. And and then I knew that it's real, he's gone. And the only person who offered support at that time was my colleague, and she also did not know how to respond. And she was quiet the whole time, and she did not even know what to say. I think when you're going through a roller coaster of emotions of losing the person that you never imagined would die, the only thing you need is to express your pain the best way you can. And at the same time, you don't need somebody telling you, Didi mama, because you're so tired. You can't itwara. I, for one, as a Christian, my fellow Christians, friends, and circle would say it as well. Trust me, there's nothing well about losing the person you've lived with for 4 years. You now have a child together, and they just die. There is nothing about grace coming in at that time, unless it's just God showering you and doing a magical thing. But we don't want to hear that it as well, because nothing is. Exactly. You are shattered at that moment. You are heartbroken. That person, you've got so many questions in your head. Why did he die? Why couldn't he say goodbye? Why didn't he stay longer? And the person who can only answer those questions is gone. And the last thing you want to hear is, this too shall pass. It will not pass, because now you need to readjust to living life without that person. And for me, two different things. So what people tend to misunderstand or misinterpret is that, and it's not so easy. So the best support is let that person grieve the best way they can.
Allow them to
be.
Yeah.
Or that particular day of 6 months later, let that person cry. If they still want to go out and just ask you, as my friend, just listen. If they need somebody to just be there in that space, sometimes you only need presence of another person. You just need somebody to be by your side. So the best support you can give is to understand it from the perspective of the person who's grieving or has lost a loved one.
Absolutely. Do you agree?
I totally agree with her. I usually say grieving is quite an essential stage when you've lost a partner, and you must be allowed to. Unfortunately, we exist in a society that has its own expectations or the way they see things. And you can cry up until this time. I remember I had to teach people at the office to say, 6 months down the line, you would have forgotten that my husband has passed on. But unfortunately for me, it's a living reality every morning. So you need to understand, when I come to the office, I'm moody. You need to understand, just come by. I remember after he passed on, I had an intention, and I even teach widows, and I say, again, we have people who want to support us, and they don't know, how do I deal with you? How do I approach you? Usually, especially with people who are saying, I'm going back to the office, how do I look at them? How do they look at me? So the best way, I usually say, just put a paper or a sticker here to say, just kiss me and give me a hug. Because all we need is for you. There's nothing that you can say that, like Isora said, that can really bring back that person. All we want is, can you bring them back? Because at the time we're going through a lot of emotions. And fortunately for me, I had a lot of support from family and friends. And the most unfortunate thing is that, and one thing that really shocked me, that really made it hard for me to really grieve, I think I reached a point where I had to decide and fight and say, I need to grieve, was his immediate family just vanishing and being rejected. You don't know, where's my in-law, where's my mother-in-law? Okay, fine, I'm fine with my cousin supporting, but I've always lived a life where cousins just stayed there, maybe at the village or at another town, but I had my in-laws every day, having to see them, having to be here and having to be appreciated as went. And then all of a sudden I'm going through this painful path. You all vanish. I think for me that was the most hardest thing to deal with when it comes to support.
Wow. Ooh. What do I even say? Please catch us right after the break.